Hey, what's up guys, Auto Fanatics. So today's video is going to be a full DIY service on the Alfa Romeo Stelvio Veloce. So I'm going to show you guys today, I'm going to be doing an oil change because I like to do the oil change every 5,000 to 6,000 miles. We're a little bit past that right now, and like I said, this engine, the 2-liter turbo, is notorious for burning oil. So we got the car up on my service stand. We're going to do everything today. We're going to do an oil change. I'm going to top off the windshield washer fluid. Going to inspect the sprint filter to make sure there's no debris in there. We're going to maybe vacuum that out. We're going to do the oil change. We're going to do a tire rotation, reset the tire pressure, because if you actually rotate the tires, the rear tires on the Stelvio require more PSI than the front. If you don't set the tire pressure, you will trigger the fault code on the dash. And we're also going to check the wiper blades front and rear and do a quick clean of the rubber to make sure they're safe and clean and they don't have any grease or any residue on them. And we're going to get started right now. So we got the car up on my wood service stands. You can see I just put a jack on both sides of the car just to give the car a little bit more ground clearance. We're going to get the camera set up. We're going to go under. We're going to remove the underbelly tray. I'm going to show you how we're going to do that with my Milwaukee M12. This is an awesome tool that I just bought, very, very inexpensive. And it has just enough RPM and torque to safely undo all those fasteners on the bottom. We got the M18 impact gun with the 17 millimeter because we're going to pull the wheels off. We're going to rotate them. I'm using a new oil filter. I didn't want to get the factory filter, and this is an extended performance Mobile 1. I'll put links to all the stuff online, M1-113A. And for the motor oil, I don't recommend the Pennzoil because these engines are notorious for burning oil. And I feel that the AMSOIL Signature Synthetic OW30 seems to work the best. Now, unfortunately, these engines don't have dipsticks, so you're pretty much relying on the instrument display on the screen to tell you how low your oil is. So most of the time this car is usually between 3/4 to 80%. Very rarely does it ever go to 100. A couple of times with my blue Stelvio, when it went to 100, it was actually overfilled and we had to drain it out from the bottom. So to get started, we're gonna undo the oil cap right now. Okay, we're just gonna set that to the side, so that's gonna release some of the pressure so the oil drains out from the bottom a lot easier. We're gonna get started right now. All right, guys, so we're under the car. We're going to be using the M12 Milwaukee like I showed you. Now, there's different positions here for your torque, so you're going to want to play around to kind of see what works. I think around 6 works best. Make sure you run reverse. So we have to undo all the screws on the leading edge all the way across. We got a bunch of them here, here, and here. This whole panel has to come out so we have access to the oil filter and the drain plug. So let's just get started. Hold on. Okay. So some of these are going to be tighter than others. Now, over the years, these will get rusted, and I showed videos on how to clean those up. And these are actually pretty expensive. Okay, we're just going to go down the line very easily. Now remember, the front screws that go here, they have the smaller diameter head. Just so I show you, so you don't screw this up, okay? The ones that are on the actual panel are the bigger head, and the ones that go to the plastic panel at a bumper are the smaller head. So if you forget that, always mark it and reference it. And the reason I love this Milwaukee M12, and I'll link it in the description, is that it doesn't have enough power, and it's not an impact where you won't strip these out. So this is actually my new tool of choice. We got a couple of ones on the bottom. Let me get this panel removed, and I'll show you. We're just going to drain it out and get the filter out in about a minute. All right, guys, so the underbelly tray comes out. Be careful to wear glasses or eye protection because all the rocks and stuff that collect in here will get you in the face. So this is a good time to inspect it, check for damage, check for any kind of leaks. And we're going to pull this to the side, and I'm going to clean this with some all-purpose cleaner. We're going to brush it and hose it off. So when we put it back in the car, it's going to be nice and clean, and we get all the debris out of there. So all the debris is cleaned out. There was a lot of gravel, a lot of blacktop and stuff. So spray it down. Then we're going to stand it up, and we're going to let it dry as we drain the oil. All right, guys, so we're under the car. You're just going to need a 13 millimeter to get the drain plug off. So the drain plug, instead of being here, it's on the side, and your oil filter is right here. So that's why you got to remove the underbelly tray. Okay, nice and easy. Also, you're going to definitely want to wear gloves because the oil is going to be hot. and this will make a good mess on your driveway or garage floor. So slowly take it out. Now, some drain plugs, they'll start dripping oil right now, but this one doesn't do it like that. So we also have my Blitz stainless steel tray under it. Okay. There we go. Okay, yeah, the oil's really hot. So now you can replace this plug, but these are pretty much reusable. This is not using a copper crush washer on the 2.0, so that applies to the Giulias and the Stelvios. Of course, before you put it back, you're gonna wanna clean it up. And after this is drained out, we're gonna get a quick drain because we undid the oil cap on the engine up top. It's gonna kind of create like a vacuum effect of sucking it all out. Once this stops pulling out, we're gonna put the drain plug back in, we're gonna get the oil filter out and put everything back together, get the car back on the ground, fill it up with oil. We're gonna check the levels, and then we're gonna start doing the oil, the tire rotation and pressure check. So stay tuned. All right, guys, so we're pretty much all drained out. When it gets to like a tiny drip, that's probably a good indicator when you wanna put your drain plug back in. So I just screw it in by hand. Have some shop towels nearby, and then we're just gonna give this a little nudge. It doesn't have to be super tight. All right, we're good. Now we're gonna get the oil filter out. And I'm gonna be using my Tecton oil filter wrench. We're just gonna move this over. Let me move the camera so you guys can kind of see it. Now this should not be super tight. You're just gonna go and grab it and give it some rotation. This is a great oil filter wrench for smaller oil filters. Now, you will get some oil on the subframe, so before we put everything back, we're gonna clean that up with some handy wipes and maybe a rag and some mineral spirits. So now we're finger tight. You're gonna loosen it up just so you got a little bit of a drain, otherwise you're gonna make a huge mess. So we're gonna let that drain out. And then we're gonna pop the filter off. We're gonna pop the new filter in and start filling up the crankcase. All right, guys, so now you're always gonna wanna take your new oil filter, and I show it on the channel all the time, it's just common sense. You always wanna lubricate the sealing rubber. Otherwise, you're never gonna know if the oil filter bottoms out. So you're gonna screw this one on by hand, nice and easy. Now, what I like to do on this filter, I'm gonna show you, I got the tool right behind me. I have this little, this is a much older tool. I don't even know if they still sell these anymore, but it's from Craftsman. I've had it for probably 25 years. So this one will just go, you can see what it does. As you rotate it, it'll fit various size oil filters. And then we're gonna just get the 3/8 ratchet, and we're just gonna snug it down. Just like that. So you can see I did it by hand, but look how much more rotation it has because it's still not bottomed out. And if you don't do this, you're gonna get leaks all over your driveway. All right, guys, we're just gonna button up the lower panel, nice and easy. So it'll take you a couple of minutes to kind of orient all the hardware. You're gonna wanna do it all by hand. And this thing has a slipper clutch, so you can't break anything, which is awesome. I think I paid $100 for it because I already had the batteries. I didn't need the whole set. Okay, got that there. So this is the hardest part of the oil change. It's not very hard at all once you have the proper tools. All right, guys, everything on the bottom is buttoned up. We've got the funnel in place. We're just gonna fill the crankcase up. We're gonna most likely use 6 quarts of the AMSOIL 0W30, but like I said, we're gonna have to put the car down on the ground, start it up, wait for it to warm up to temperature and get the oil level. Unfortunately, there's no dipstick, so we kind of have to go with the dashboard screen. So we're gonna button this up. After we're done with filling the crankcase up, we're gonna top off the windshield washer fluid, and then we're gonna also inspect the sprint filter in the airbox in a couple of moments. All right, guys, now we're just gonna top off the windshield washer fluid. Now there's a little filter screen. I always remove that before I fill up the washer fluid on the Alfa Romeos, and do that on any car. It'll just stop you from spilling it all over the place. Take the little top and stick it on the back, right underneath the fender flap right there, so it stops you from getting it in your way, and just slowly, top off your fluid until you're pretty much gonna see the level get to the very, very top. Just patiently. It's nothing really too exciting, but we want to do this because we've been having so much rain, and the windshield washer fluid indicator came up on the dashboard a few days ago. So now, like, we're doing the full service in the car. The oil filter, oil change, that's all done. We're topping off the windshield washer fluid, which is going to work for the front windshield and also the rear hatch windshield wiper. And next up, we are going to check and inspect the sprint filter to see if there's any debris in the airbox. And then we're going to start rotating the tires front to rear and checking the tire pressure, and the full, I would call this an annual service, is going to be complete in about an hour's time. So anybody could do this themselves at their leisure with very basic hand tools. All right, guys, so you're going to need a 7mm socket to undo the airbox. But before we do that, I like to release the plug. And once again, we're using the Milwaukee M12, which is probably the perfect tool for the job. This one down here is a little tricky to get to. And then we got the one over here. Can't see for paper, get that out of my way. Okay. Okay, it's all a 7mm. I'm gonna break this free, okay? Okay, there we go. So the air box is taken out. This is the sprint filter we put in. And just for servicing purposes, I'm just gonna blow it out with some compressed air. I mean, it looks perfectly clean. There's nothing wrong with it. Just some dust. Oh, you see, we trapped some pollen and stuff. Now this is a dry filter element. So we're gonna go into the air box. Clean that up. Any debris that you see, I'm just taking a shop towel, one of those little handy wipes, kind of go in there and kind of clean it all up, because believe it or not, you do, like you can see it there, you're getting a lot of debris that gets thrown into this car. Wipe the filter down, and that's it. So the filter's good, does not need to be replaced. There wasn't any heavy debris. There was a lot of pollen in there. And then just to get this back on, we're just gonna, there's tabs here. Get the tabs in first. Drop it down. There we go. And we're just gonna anchor everything back together. Okay, I got the screw that I took out over here. And it's a great tool because it doesn't have a lot of torque, so you're not gonna break the plastic. Line up your clamp. Okay, cinch it down. And we're pretty much good to go. So now we are going to do the tire rotation and tire pressure change. Okay, so we're all done under the hood. We're gonna button this up. If you want, you could blow this all out with compressed air and clean up your engine cover if you want, like I'm doing here. But you don't have to. That's a video for another day where we'll do some engine bay detailing, but we're not doing that today. We're just trying to focus on the servicing of the brand new Alfa Romeo Stelvio Veloce 2.0. Let's see how tight these guys are. So 17mm. Okay, now before I take this wheel off, because we have it so jacked up, I got my Sticky RX. My buddy Dave makes these. These are wheel hangers. They're 14mm. You're gonna screw them in. And what this is gonna do, it's gonna make sure when you take the wheel off, you don't drop it and damage your caliper and the barrel of your wheel. So it's one of those little things that when you're working on cars, it's just gonna make you do a much better job. Okay, just like that. Now watch. Put the bolts over here. Boom, okay? So that's it, we're safely done. Now we're gonna go to the back of the car and repeat the process. So like I said, the reason it's good to rotate these tires every 5,000 to 6,000 miles is because there is some rear camber on this versus the front. The front of these cars don't have a lot of camber. So So we don't want to get uneven tire wear. And since we put the Continental DWS's phenomenal tire, probably one of the best things that we've done. So we just gotta, I can't with the gloves. Let me just grab it with my finger. Okay. That's it. So we're just doing tire rotation, front to back. Okay, they come off. Now we're just gonna drop this over to the front like that. Now you know you're hub centric, and we're gonna get the torque wrench when we're done. We're gonna torque everything down, but it just makes your life a lot easier. Screw them. Oh, beautiful fall day, right? So perfect time to do it. We're gonna get some bad weather once again this weekend. And this car's been going on a lot of longer drives recently, so it just makes me want to do the servicing on it. Now the front's a little tricky when you go put these heavier wheels on because the rotor is going to tend to want to move. And then you also have the alignment pin that goes into the back mounting pad of the wheels. So make sure these are in there securely. See? Now we're gonna just step back. We're gonna get this thing right onto the car. Okay. We are hub centric. So very simple to do this yourself. You don't need to go to a dealer. You don't need to go to an independent shop. If you got a good floor jack, jack it up from the rear and the whole car goes up, and definitely get yourself a set of these wheel hangers. Okay, so now I'm gonna grab my tire pressure gauge and we're gonna reset the tire pressure. Now being that we swapped the front to rear, the rear tire pressure on a Stelvio is 36 PSI. Now, if you don't have it at 36 PSI, it will throw your dashboard fault up. So we're at 35. Using my Longacre racing gauge. All right, we're exactly at 33. Now we're gonna go to the rear. We're gonna actually have to put air in the rear tire to get it up to 36. So we should be lower on this tire because this came off the front of the car. And you can vary with tire pressure, but you just want to make sure you got the rears. Yeah, we're at 32, so you're gonna have to crank this up a little bit. Okay. $36, so we're good to go. So we're gonna drop the car on the ground, repeat the process on the other side, torque the wheels down, and then the final step of the service, we're gonna inspect and clean the wiper blades front and rear. All right, guys, so the last step of the service is going to be inspecting and cleaning the rubber wiper blades. So what I'm going to use today is Gyeon Prep. This is like an IPA solution. It's mild, it's going to clean the rubber, it's going to get any grease and any contaminants off the rubber blades, and it's not going to eat into the rubber and weaken them. So we're just going to take a brand new shop towel. You're going to want to put the wipers in service mode. Saturate the towel, hold this quick, and then you're just going to grab the wiper and just go up and down. You're gonna do this on all the wipers on the car. So the two in the front and the one in the back. And you can kind of see that's all the junk that's coming off the wiper blades. Once you do this, it's gonna restore them like new. You're gonna eliminate the chatter when it rains, and we're pretty much good to go with the full vehicle service on the Alfa Romeo Stelvio Veloce. And all of these little tips that I showed you and all the things that I showed you in this video, everybody could do themselves at home with very basic hand tools. You don't have to go to the dealer. And doing it yourself gives you the gratification that you know it's been done right, and you get to use the oil, the better oil and the better filter, and everything is just gonna be done. You can see that there. So that's everything that came off. Now we're gonna do the one in the back, and we're finished with the service. All right, guys, that's the conclusion of the full DIY vehicle service of the Alfa Romeo Stelvio Veloce 2.0. This will apply to also the Giulia 2.0. Everything is very easy to do. I recommend the better oil. The Penn's oil on these engines burns like crazy. I also don't recommend Cash oil and the other stuff. So, like I said, hope you got some tips and tricks. Do the stuff yourself. You know it's going to be done right. Avoid dealing with the horrible dealer network that Alfa Romeo has, and rest assured that your vehicle will be running tip-top for the next remainder of the 6 months to 12 months before your next service. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys soon.